Yasuke was a man of African origin who served as a retainer and weapon bearer to the Japanese daimyo Oda Nobunaga. In 1579, Yasuke arrived in Japan in the service of the Italian Jesuit missionary Alessandro Valignano, visitor of the missions in the Indies in India. Yasuke was one of the several Africans to have come with the Portuguese to Japan during the Nanban trade, and is thought by some to have been the first African that Nobunaga had ever seen. Welcome to the Did You Know segment with me, your host Esbila Caleb, and this is the story of Yasuke, the first black African to visit Japan. According to histories written by Jesuit priest Francois Soleila of the Society of Jesus in 1627, Yasuke was likely from Mozambique. This will be the consequent with other accounts of Africans from Mozambique in Japan. According to Fujita Midori, the first African people who came to Japan were Mozambican. They reached Japan in 1546 as shipmates or slaves who served Portuguese Captain Jorge Alvarez, not to be confused by another explorer of the same name who died in 1521. In 2013, a Japanese TBS television program titled Discovery of the World's Mystery suggested that Yasuke was a Makua named Yasufe. This name seems to be derived from the most popular Mozambican name, Isufo. However, the program provided little evidence for its conclusions. The Makua are not documented as having had any significant contact with the Portuguese based in Mozambique until 1585. Yasuke may have been a member of the Yao people or from the more inland area of Mozambique. Yao people were just coming into contact with the Portuguese at the time, which might account for his name. That is, Yao added to the common Japanese male name suffix of the suke produces Yaosuke. Yasuke may have been a slave. Thomas Lockley acknowledged it is possible that Yasuke was enslaved as a child and sent to India, where he could have been employed as a military slave or indentured soldier, but that he likely obtained his freedom before meeting Valginano. Valginano employed him as a bodyguard and valet. According to Sudanese claims, there are suggestions that Yasuke was a Dinka from South Sudan. He was famous for his height and extremely dark skin color. The Dinka people are among the tallest in Africa and have significantly darker skin compared to Ethiopians, Eritreans, or Somali, for example. Adult Dinka men had a ritual custom of drawing decorative patterns on their faces by tattooing, but no account of Yasuke having a face pattern was recorded. According to Ethiopian claims, Yasuke was from Ethiopia. Thomas Lockley suggested that this theory is the most convincing. Like Yasuke, Ethiopians who are not Jewish or Beta Israel, Christian or Muslim were often sold into slavery and called kafra by the Portuguese. They were well-built and skilled soldiers. According to this theory, his origins name might be Amharic, named Yisake, or the Portuguese name Isaka, derived from Isak. Yasufe was also used as a surname in Ethiopia. His documented life in Japan is that he arrived in Japan in 1579 in service to the Italian Jesuit missionary Alessandro Valignano, who had been appointed the visitor inspector of the Jesus missions in Indies, which at that time meant East Africa, Southeast, and East Asia. He accompanied Valignano when the latter came to the capital area in March 1581, and his appearance caused much interest with the local people. When Yasuke was presented to Oda Nobunaga, the Japanese Empire thought that his skin must have been colored with black ink. Nobunaga had him stripped from the waist up and made him scrub his skin. These events are recorded in a 1581 letter of Jesuit Louis Froy to Lourenco Mexia, and in the 1582 annual report of Jesuit missions in Japan, also by Froy, they were published in Cartas Qui o Padre e Imrano di Jesuit Escarrero Japao e China II, normally known simply as Cartas. When Nobunaga realized that African skin was indeed black, he took interest in him. The Lord Nobunaga describes the meeting thus: on 23rd of the second month, that is 23rd March 1581, a black page came from the Christian countries. The man was described as robust, a black as a bull, and fine character. Nobunaga's nephew gave him a sum of money at his first meeting. On 14th May, Yasuke departed from the province which Froy and other Christians were there. During this trip, they met local warlords such as Shibata Katsuyayo, Hashiba Hidekatsu, and Shibata Katsui. They returned to Kyoto on 30th May. It is likely that Yasuke could speak or was taught Japanese, perhaps due to Valgnano's efforts to ensure his missionaries adapted well to the local culture. Nobunaga enjoyed talking with him, and there is no indication that he could speak Portuguese. He was perhaps the non-Japanese retainer of Nobunaga had in his services, which could have explained Nobunaga's interest in him. Yasuke was mentioned in a variant text of Shinchoko, owned by Sonkikaku Bonko, the archives of Meida clan. According to this, the black man named Yasuke was given his own residence and a short ceremonial katana by Nobunaga. Nobunaga also assigned him the duty of weapon bearer. After the Battle of Tenmokozun, Nobunaga led his force, including Yasuke, and inspected the former territory of Takeda clan. On his way back, he met Tokugawa Ieyasu, Matsudaira Letada, the retainer of Ieyasu, described as Yasuke as Shaku-san, which is 6 feet inches and 2 inches or 188 centimeters. He was black and his skin was like charcoal, Matsudaira stated, and he claimed that he named him Yasuke. In June 1582, Nobunaga was attacked and forced to commit seppuku in Honinju, Kyoto, by the army of Akechi Metsudi. Yasuke was there at that time, helped fight the Akechi forces. Immediately after Nobunaga's death, Yasuke went to join Nobunaga's heir, Oda Nobutanga, who was trying to rally the Oda forces at Nijo castles. Yasuke fought alongside Nobutada forces but was eventually captured. When Yasuke was presented to Akechi, the warlord allegedly said that the black man was an animal as well as not Japanese and should thus not be killed, but taken to the Christian church in Kyoto, the Nanbanji. However, there is some doubt regarding the credibility of this fate. There is no further information about him after this. That is it, folks, and stay tuned for this and more stories only on R&I TV. Keep it locked this and every Wednesday.